So, what does an ex-flat earther believe about conspiracy theories now? Have I taken the blue pill? Let's find out. This video will be made up of 3 parts. Part 1 will be my thoughts on conspiracy theories as an ex-flat earther. Part 2 will be my research moving forward. And Part 3 will be how I believe technology, AI, will control the world in the future and what lies ahead for humanity. We all have our own ideas about conspiracy theories, right? For some of you, it could be a case of not believing any of them. For others, it could be that you believe some of them or even all of them. We're in an information age, well, nearing the end, where we can find out the answers to almost every question that we ask. So how can we distinguish between fact or fiction? Should we be skeptical of these facts that are presented to us by the governments and the media? It seems to me there is a divide between the 2 general narratives. Either we believe them or we don't. Red pill, blue pill. Vote for this person or that person. Flat or globe. Vaxxer, anti-vaxxer. We seem to be put into the categories. For instance, we'll just look at these 2 categories. Flat earth beliefs versus globe earth beliefs. Now generally, flat earthers believe in conspiracies. They're generally anti-media, anti-vaxxers, anti-Darwinism, anti-history, just to name a few. Globe earth beliefs are anti-conspiracies, pro-media, pro-Darwinism and pro-vaccines, and generally atheists. That's how I see it. Are there any anti-conspiracy theorists that believe in aliens? Is that a form of conspiracy? So this is certainly how I see it. Look, I say that because of my experiences and what I'm actually going through right now. When 9/11 happened, I believed the narrative. I believed everything that they were telling me, because I believe conspiracy theorists were crazy, like they all said. They all told us that. And I'll give you an example. Right when the internet came out, I think it was 1996-97, there was a movie called Conspiracy Theorist with Mel Gibson and Julia Roberts. He was classed as a crazy conspiracy theorist. That's how he was portrayed. That's how they portrayed it to us. These were 2 of the biggest names in the movie industry in the 90s. And back then, movies were huge. Everybody would have seen that movie. Basically what I'm trying to say, it's very difficult for me to forget about the research that I've done in respects to conspiracy theories. But they're also not just associated with flat earthers. I've got the Corbett Report, Michael Moore, Richard Hall, Graham Hancock, to name a few. I've also studied the New Zealand government and the media during the pandemic, and there are a few red flags for me. Now, I'm not going to talk about this a lot because they don't like you talking about it, but when it first appeared, our Prime Minister, many other Prime Ministers around the world said this will be the new normal from now on. This is the new normal. That's what they all said. In regards to the coronavirus, if anybody has any doubts about it, I suggest you talk to your health professionals or your doctor. So it was during this time I decided to walk away from the flat earth because I saw so much misinformation on social media about the virus, about what you should do and what you shouldn't do. And I believe we should trust the medical professionals. We should trust our doctors. I'm not saying there isn't any red flags. There are, because doctors have come out against it. But personally for myself, I was becoming confused on what I should believe. Should I believe these doctors? Should I believe these doctors? Many conspiracy theories popped up around the coronavirus, QAnon, all sorts of other conspiracies. To be honest, that's when I realised, well, hey, I have to take a step back here, remove myself from any conspiracies and actually do some research. Some real research, not flat earth research, as in watching Bob from Globebusters or Nathan from the Flat Earth Debate Show. I'm not going to find the answers there. These guys aren't scientists. They're not experts in the field. Now, I'm not going to tell you what I believe and don't believe about 9/11, the moon landings, Pizzagate, climate change. I'm not a conspiracy expert. I also realise that my thinking got me into the flat earth arena, and I could be the type of person that is predisposed to these types of conspiracies. But why could that be? Some may say I'm uneducated. And some people will call me a crazy conspiracy theorist. I don't think I am. I think I'm past that now. So what else has gone on in my life to lead me down that track? I think it comes down to life experiences. We all experience life in different ways. So I believe everybody experiences life differently, and it changes. Life evolves. Your life changes as you get older. Certain events happen, good or bad, that change the way you think. Most conspiracy theorists, I think, are between the ages of 45 and 55. That's when most people are going through a midlife crisis, yeah? Things happen. Past events. Testing times. Most of the general population go through life normally. And that's possibly why they don't believe they need to look or believe in conspiracy theories. But looking back at it now, I can't believe I was a flat earther. It just seems ridiculous to me right now. I'm like, ugh, what was I thinking? But I went down that track. I've come out the other side, and I'm back to reality, and I have some of my sanity back. Not all of it, I'm still going through the process, but I'm not as skeptical. Am I still a little bit crazy? Yeah, probably. But I'm honest. But one thing I do want to say is, especially about 9/11, is that I'm horrified about what happened. I feel so sorry for those people and their families that had to go through that. Looking back at it, I didn't believe the narrative about 9/11, but looking at it now, there are a few red flags, but that's just overthinking things possibly. So I don't like the system we're living in, but I have to accept it and I have to move on. Okay, having said that, I still believe there are some conspiracies that do have red flags. But in this day and age, it's so difficult to decipher between fact and fiction. But the only reason I'm talking about this right now is because I want to relate it to Flat Earth, which is another reason why I left the Flat Earth, is because there are not any specialists in the field coming out and supporting it. They don't have any credible science, they don't have any credible scientists, specialists in the field, experts that have come out and agreed with them. However, you do have experts coming out against, let's say, coronavirus 9/11. Now, I'm not saying that this is what happened, what they're saying is correct. These experts wouldn't just come out, guys, because we know that experts in the field, if they don't go with the mainstream narrative, if they don't agree with their peers, they can be ostracized. So I think when the experts come out against what's happening, we only have to look at the amount of experts, the percentage of experts that have come out. We need to look into that, and they could be totally wrong. But when it comes to Flat Earth, they've got nothing. They've got no backing from any scientist, nobody. So that's when you know that those conspiracies are possibly psyops. They've just been thrown in there to muddy the waters. Other conspiracies could be true. I don't know. JFK, we'll never know. A lot of these things we just won't know. We have to just move on. But all I'm saying is that when specialists in the field come out against the mainstream narrative, we have to look at that. We have to look at that. We can't just dismiss them. So I know I've said I've come out the other side and I'm not so paranoid or skeptical anymore. I'm talking about this in relation to really stupid conspiracies against conspiracies that may have some validity. That's all I'm saying. It's difficult to decipher in this day and age. So basically, to summarize part one, this video is not to tell you what I believe or what you should believe, but it's more about how we can all look at information we receive in another way. There are some factors that form our belief system, how we were brought up, what era we were born in, Boomer, Generation X, Millennials. But we also have to ask ourselves, what are we searching for? What are we fighting for or against? Believing is a process that we all go through, and our truths are our truths alone. We need to understand a person's journey before we can understand their beliefs. So that's part one, guys. Thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you in part two. Cheers. So in part two, we're quickly going to look into ancient history, ancient pyramids, and lost technologies, and why I believe some of our history has been hidden from us. I'm not saying anybody's lied, I'm not making any accusations, but the evidence brought forward, the evidence I have seen, the evidence that everybody can see, is that it doesn't fit into the mainstream narrative, and these experts will explain why. So I have 4 clips I want to show you. Each clip is a portion of a full video, and I will leave all the links in the description box. Let's dive right into the first clip.
A new book out now in the UK and released later this month in the US alleges that scientists and archaeologists have for decades overlooked more than 100,000 years of American prehistory that could reveal the secrets of our species' origin and shine a light on the true extent of American colonial genocide. The book is America Before: The Key to Earth's Lost Civilization, and its best-selling author Graham Hancock joins me now. Graham, welcome back to Going Underground. I've got to ask you, we've been told for years that there's no point really from an archaeological perspective in talking about the Americas. Why is this book so big, America Before?
Well, you see, it was a long-held view. It's unfortunate to say this about something that defines itself as a science, but archaeology is very dogmatic. And it was a dogmatic view held for more than 50 years, from the 1960s right through until past 2010, that the first human beings to enter the Americas had come in about 13,400 years ago.
Across to Alaska.
Through Alaska, through the Bering then land bridge, and into North America, and then into South America. And this was a doctrine. It was called Clovis first. And actually any archaeologist, and I can give you a number of examples like Jacques Cinq-Mars, who excavated Bluefish Caves in the Yukon, any archaeologist who came across a site where humans were older than 13,400 years was viciously attacked, like, as though the archaeological community was a pack of hyenas. They just descended on these dissenting voices and utterly destroyed their careers and withdrew their research.
You say in the book, the editor of Nature, one of the premier Scholastic magazines, characterized it as bullying and aggression against people who'd want to...
Exactly. Terrible bullying and aggression. And I often try to figure out why this is. And I think that maybe it is a natural human instinct to be territorial. And if your territory, your intellectual territory, is a particular idea about the past, you're going to tend to resist any ideas that contradict that. And if the stronger the ideas are, the stronger your resistance is going to be. And this, unfortunately, is the case, that for more than 50 years, evidence of humans in America much older than 13,400 years ago was simply dismissed, and anybody who attempted to go that way would not get research funding and would be ostracized by their colleagues and literally have their lives ruined. And this is most unfortunate, and it's not how science should proceed, because we now know that human beings have been in the Americas for tens of thousands of years before 13,400 years ago. In fact, the latest evidence puts them back more than 130,000 years in the Americas. And what that says to me is, if they were saying before that humans didn't come until 13,400 years ago and nobody should look, nobody should dig deeper, now we know they were there 130,000 years ago. That's more than 100,000 years of the American story that has not been told entirely because of the dogmatism of archaeology. And now reluctantly they're having to accept, all of the institutions are accepting, well, we're sorry, we got it wrong. But it's not just a matter of getting it wrong. It's a grave responsibility to be the profession that interprets the prehistory of humanity to the modern world. And it's a betrayal of that responsibility to be so dogmatic and to refuse to consider any possibility which doesn't fit with one's preconceived notions.
They would cut the lid out of the same mother piece. This is going to be the lid on the front, okay? Same mother piece to keep the same vibratory signature, because resonant sound is most important. Now you see the example of a smoking gun of advanced, as what Chris Dunn would call ancient advanced technology. Look at here, how they were cutting the lid, okay? Cutting through granite like it was butter. But if you can see, the operator, male or female, lost control of the tool, and it went off to the side, and they stopped the work. Unlike the Romans who would come later, who would cut into pieces and reuse, Cometians never did, except in dynastic times, because it had to be perfect at first, or they just left it. Thank God they left it for us to find, because this is the evidence. But there's more here to the advanced theory. This is called impact ultrasonic machining, meaning that a tool that is vibrating at thousands of RPMs with a diamond tip, it puts out a sonic wave in front of the tool that softens the granite and makes it easier for the tool to follow. And you can come and you will all take pictures and see this yourself, because it actually made a line in the granite for the tool to follow. But if you follow the line to the back, you will see that they drew the line here and it's off center. because it wasn't completed. So he's trying to follow the line, even they made mistakes. This is what's so important. And Yusuf would point this out often.
The unfinished books in the Egyptian Museum. Yeah. This is one of the examples of the saw cuts in granite.
Brian Foster too. We're using 360 senses, which I'll talk about, the highest consciousness we've ever been to do this, but we're still human. We still made mistakes. They lost control of this tool, and they went off to the side and ended the work. But it's here for us to find. This is what Chris Dunn is in his second book, and what we all talk about. We're going to show you so many more examples of this. This could not possibly be done in dynastic times, where they had copper chisels, copper tools, even bronze, even metal. Could not do this. This had to be, and again, we had a super engineer who came up with the theory, and he gave it to Chris Dunn, called impact ultrasonic machining. Ultrasound, meaning going at putting an ultrasonic wave that actually alters the physics of the stone and makes it softer to cut.
And I want to start with the evidence for machining. By this term, I mean the marks and indications of advanced tools that have been used to cut or shape stone blocks and objects, and these tools are definitely not found in the archaeological record. The examples take the form of saw cuts and machining marks, and tube drill holes and cores. Perhaps my favourite example of what must have been just a huge circular saw, or perhaps a swing saw, is found at the Old Kingdom site of Abu Sir. This megalithic block of basalt that sits in front of one of the several pyramids on that site looks much like many others that are found here, yet a close examination reveals some astonishing characteristics. The top of this block, although weathered from millennia in the desert, has clearly been cut by a blade that has a very distinctive circular arc to it. It left obvious striations and grooves in its passing, indicating a rapid rate of cutting through this very hard material, and a bit of water poured over the block shows these marks very clearly. The block appears to have not been cut all the way through, something that we are very fortunate to have evidence for, as it also appears to have been a remarkably thin edge, only a few millimeters of material, as evidenced by the lip that is left on the edge of this block. Look at the arc to the saw and just try to imagine the diameter of the tool. If it was indeed a circular saw, it may have been as much as 8 or 9 meters or 25 feet or more in diameter. Some saw cuts that left precise arcs have been estimated by Christopher Dunn to have been made with saws up to 11 meters in diameter, which is over 30 feet.
So I think we've seen some pretty compelling evidence there to suggest that maybe our history has been hidden from us, or maybe they've got it wrong, or maybe it warrants looking into a bit more. To me, this is just another bit of evidence to suggest, hey, maybe we're not being told exactly what's going on. Now, has this spread into the modern era? Have the government suppressed information from us? There are a lot of stories, guys, but the evidence speaks for itself, and now this is what I'm looking at. This leads me to believe that we're not being told the whole story. We're not being told everything. Why? Because it doesn't fit into their narrative. But I can guarantee you the mainstream narrative will fight this tooth and nail to the end. They won't change it. History books won't be changed. Now, this is just a small portion of what is out there, if you guys want to go and research it. I'm not telling you this is how it is or what to believe, but the evidence is there. You look at the evidence for and against, and you make up your own mind. Now, also a bit of a secret research tool I have up my sleeve is books from my father. My father's been collecting books since the 70s, and he's got an extensive library of over 5,000 books. And he's given me quite a few books over the years. He loves history. He's collected a lot of books on history. He's got a lot of rare books. He's got a lot of books that you possibly couldn't get today. So he has so much information in his library that I've got access to. So just to summarize part 2, ancient history have a lot of evidence for us to look at. The evidence is protected. That's what we should be looking at. Modern day conspiracies, not really my thing. Very hard, very difficult to decipher what is correct information and what's misinformation. But the past and these ancient relics do not lie. So I hope you enjoyed part 2. Thanks for watching. Hit that subscribe button if you like. And part 3 coming right up.
5G will change a lot of things. and I'm talking to innovative New Zealand companies about the ways they see 5G benefiting their business and how it will give them an edge.
Well, we're looking to revolutionise the way that Kiwis pay.
So what's the next thing?
So in a future state, you could be paying for goods and services using your face.
I personally am very keen on anything that gets me away from that moment where you put your card there and then you've got this weird 2-second gap where you're trying to make conversation.
Please.
But it's not long enough to properly make conversation, so sometimes you just sort of stare somewhere else. Getting rid of that is great.
We can see a future where there's a simple POS system and we've got a small camera up here on the wall connected live into a 5G network in the future, and that would just be sending signals straight up to the cloud.
And that's it.
And that's it.
I don't need to hand over cards, I don't need to hand over cash.
That's right.
My face is the payment.
Correct.
So in part 3, guys, I'm not going to talk too much. I'm going to let the experts do the talking. But I think we can all safely say that the future is moving very fast, and it's going to move whether we like it or not. Do we want this future? And do you believe that big corporations and the government will use this technology to help us or to help them? So are the conspiracies around 5G a distraction? So there's a lot of questions there, guys. But I think these are important questions that we need to ask ourselves. We've been in a technological age for quite some time now, and the progress we've made is phenomenal. In the last 50 years, we've advanced so fast. Imagine what the next 50 years is going to be like, and so on and so on. 100 years is 200 years is nothing in the scheme of things, but the advances in technology will be exponential. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section. Have you done any research about the future, AI, technology, even simulations? Are we in a simulation? Anyway, this next clip is about the pros and cons of AI and how it may affect us in the future. We'll just check that out now.
It seems right now we're putting a lot of trust in robots. Robots are used to do things like run businesses, for example hotels and restaurants. Some AI robots can even carry out surgeries in the operating room. They also wake us up in the morning and take our orders. And they even clean our houses for us. Soon, many people will also be trusting AI to drive their car for them. All of this is because artificial intelligence is improving and getting more and more smart. By 2053, 50% of all existing jobs will be done by AI. This means most humans will be replaced and won't be able to find work. Also, most surgeries will be carried out by AI. Right now, we're seeing blue-collar work be replaced by artificial intelligence robots. For example, most robots are actually in factories making things. But what's known as white-collar machines are becoming more and more popular. This will take over things like legal research and even journalism. Translation, care work, and entertainment will also be replaced by AI. Researchers are also teaching robots how to feel emotions. And scarily, robots can even now manipulate human emotions. Robots are learning to deceive. There's an algorithm allowing robots to choose to tell lies and make sure you never find out.
The problem with the race for AI is that it may result in poor quality ASI that does not take the welfare of humanity into consideration. Sam Harris worries that the power of superintelligent AI will be abused. If governments and companies perceive themselves to be in an arms race against one another, they could develop strong incentives to create superintelligent AI first, or attack whoever is on the brink of creating it. The Chinese, Russians, Indians, Israelis, Koreans, Japanese, and Europeans are at least as motivated as Americans to develop advanced AI. Currently, China is primarily focused on using AI to make faster and more well-informed decisions, as well as on developing a variety of autonomous military vehicles. Russia is also active in military AI development, with a primary focus on robotics. An arms race for an ASI could lead to authoritarianism. It could make it easier for political groups to shut down negative speech against them. It can make it easier for businesses to assert their rights over interests of workers, consumers, and the general public.
So there's a little bit more information, guys. Now, I'm not going to talk about this too much because everybody can do this research. I think we all know technology is evolving. I think we all understand quite well that humans are being replaced by AI and technology. So it's a matter of how we interpret that. So life is moving ahead, technology is moving ahead, whether we like it or not, whether it's helping us or whether it's not going to help us. That is the big question here. AI and technology can be used to help humanity, but I also believe that there are people out there that will use this technology against us, against the consumer. But they will use whatever method they can to get us to buy their products. So this is no secret. This is what big companies do. They have marketing strategies. It's all about saving money and making more money, right? That's their goal. And in regards to the government and AI, I don't know what's going to happen. It seems we're going down that path. But I need to be really careful about what I believe, because after all, I was a crazy flat earth and conspiracy theorist. So I'm not here to tell you what to believe or necessarily what I believe. I'm a recovering conspiracy theorist. It's been a tough transition going from a flat earther to ex-flat earther to ex-conspiracy theorist now to who I am at the moment. I'm not quite sure. I'm still on that journey. I'm still trying to find myself, I guess. I'm still trying to do research. But I do believe the future looks grim for humanity. It looks pretty scary, to be honest. Anyway, so modern technology can help us or hinder us. For the most part, I believe this technology is good for us. Some of it I don't think is quite so good for us, as we've seen, but the jury's out on that. Now, what I want to talk about now is how modern technology can help us understand the past. And now what I mean by that is I want to tie part 3 into part 2. Part 2 I talked about ancient history, how some of our history may have been hidden from us, or they could have got some of it wrong, because we have modern machinists, engineers that have come out and said, hey, the methods we use to make modern structures seem to match the modern structures of the past that were supposedly created with primitive tools. Now, I'm not saying that's how it is, but it's a different story. So, what do I mean? Well, Christopher Dunn will explain what I'm talking about in this next video. Let's check out what he has to say.
For every mysterious megalithic site, there is a standard set of conventional primitive scenarios, most of which have never been subjected to a rigorous engineering analysis. A professional toolmaker and engineer, Christopher Dunn has subjected many ancient Egyptian artifacts to state-of-the-art laboratory testing.
When I was in Egypt in 1986, I was absolutely astounded by some of the artifacts that I saw in the Cairo Museum and also the Great Pyramid itself and around the Great Pyramid. Specifically, I was looking at some of the granite stones that were broken off the second pyramid, and the sharpness of the corners, the flatness of the surfaces. So when I went back to Egypt in 1995, I took some tools with me, some instruments with which I could check the precision of these artifacts. I had in front of me an artifact that had a contour, and it showed that it must have been cut using some mechanical device that traveled or guided a tool in 3 axes, because the tool marks and the contour of the artifact itself created a contour that was repeatable across a length of about 29 inches. Regardless of where you moved this parallel, whether you moved it horizontally or vertically, up and down, it was so precise. I was absolutely amazed. I exclaimed, space-age precision. And it's not just the tools for cutting. Even if you would accept that they were able to machine this or to actually cut this using sand and using bone or using other rocks and bashing it or using copper chisels, even if we were to accept that, to be able to create these artifacts and create these perfectly flat surfaces and repeat the precision over a large area would require other instruments, metrology instruments, because these were not done coincidental. They were done intentionally. They had to be intentional. So it would have required other metrology equipment.
Not content with simply saying that Egyptologists are wrong about the capabilities of the ancient builders, Dunn makes the astonishing assertion that the ancient Egyptians used at the least high-speed drills and even ultrasound.
As I was reading William Flinders Petrie's book on the pyramids and temples of Giza, one of the artifacts that he was describing was a core that was taken out of a hole drilled into granite. Some of these cores were up to 4 inches in diameter. The feed rate, which was what puzzled Petrie so much, for every revolution that the drill turned, it sunk into the granite 1/10 of an inch. The feed rate could be a indication of the method that they used to advance the tool into the workpiece. And with ultrasonic machining, it is a totally, it's a different than conventional methods of machining. Essentially what you have is a vibrating tool bit, and the tool actually cuts through vibration, and an abrasive slurry would be fed into the workpiece to assist and accelerate the cutting action. So this is fairly strong evidence that the ancient Egyptians were using ultrasonics to drill. I have yet to have anybody come forward with a conventional means or a primitive means to actually reproduce these artifacts.
The work that Chris Dunn is doing, proving, as far as I'm concerned, proving that very sophisticated machinery of some sort was used to cut and polish those stones is, I think, extremely compelling. And I mean, the evidence comes from where evidence is supposed to come from somebody who actually cut stone himself and who works with machines. Egyptologists and archaeologists do not cut stone and do not work with machines, and their opinions in such matter, as with the weathering patterns on rock, are basically of no particular value. Their PhDs in Egyptology does not give them any expertise whatever in the machining of very hard rocks that we can't machine today.
When you look at the precision, a high precision of these artifacts and the photographs and the evidence that I have collected while I was in Egypt, it's still there, and people can still go over and they can still look at this material, they can take measurements, and then they can look at the evidence and say, yes, there's no way this could be done by primitive society. We have to revise the theory.
So these are the types of reasons why I believe some of our history has been hidden from us. Now I can understand the mainstream narrative and the timeline. They have to fit everything within that. They don't want to look into anything other than that. Anyway, what do you guys believe? Let me know. Be honest. I don't mind if you disagree with me. It's a debate. We're all grown-ups. I can handle it. Should this evidence be taken seriously? Now, I'm not going to talk about anything else apart from that. This is just information. It's how you guys take it. It's how you guys perceive the information. So to wrap up this entire video, it was quite a tricky video to make. I didn't want to upset anybody, but I also didn't want to make any claims. I might have sounded confused in places, but I believe I still am, because I'm on my journey. I'm a recovering conspiracy theorist, and I need to think about things differently, because I'll end up down the rabbit hole again. Anyway guys, let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Hit the subscribe button. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video. Cheers.